Tom Curran's a very good reporter in Boston. Tom E. Curran. When he writes stuff, I believe it. Writes a fascinating column today. Go and read it about Brady. That Tom Brady's now getting to the end. Tired of taking pay cuts. Tom's looking at these receivers. He's got no tight end. He's tired of taking pay cuts.
Yeah. One
Pro Bowler in 19 years, Belichick has drafted at a skill position. Gronk. I'm not saying he's going to go, but put yourself, 42, net worth $250 million. Taking pay cuts. I got to tell you something, Marcellus.
Yeah.
I'm not a big enough man. I'd want on the way out. I'd want $30 million.
Yeah. There are details in that story right there without even having a chance to read it just yet. The way you go in is the way you come out. Don't forget that Tom Brady at one time was the highest paid quarterback at the position. Then started to have the success, the team success, and realized, you know what? Let's build around me, and I'm going to buy into this organization. And I remember this moment vividly when he took a pay cut with a direct effort to sign Wes Welker. And remember what happened with Wes Welker?
They let him go.
And Tom Brady took a pay cut north of $2 million. And I remember hearing some of the rumblings of, hey, can I get the money back? Or what are we going to do with those resources? Oh, they're just gone in thin air. And from that moment on, I think Tom Brady had to realize, look, if you don't do well by me, sooner or later this is going to catch up to you. And I think this is the moment of truth.
By the way, I don't think they're a Super Bowl team this year. I think Baltimore's better. I think Kansas City's better. I think the league is changing. They outplayed Houston and lost because Houston's got a dynamic quarterback and great skill people. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team.
Well, you know, December Foxborough and January playoff football is always a different game and version of football, different season. So what they're able to do, their mantra is, we're not going to make mistakes and we're going to capitalize on your mistakes. And if you look at this team, when they come down to the stretch run, they're able to go out there and make sure they don't beat themselves. So are you confident in the Houston team last year that lost 21-7 at home in the playoffs? We don't know how they're going to respond in the playoffs. We saw the Baltimore Ravens last year had to face the LA Chargers twice in 3 weeks, including the loss in the playoffs where they didn't look like they belonged on the field in that situation. So everyone has to take a leap in terms of maturation in the playoffs, where New England, they can rely on some of that experience. The lights are not as bright to them as a collective. That may pay dividends.
Does it feel like to you, though, Kansas City, they had some O-line issues, Marcellus, Tyreek Hill injuries. It kind of does feel like, I watched them against the Raiders last week. It's like we've kind of, Baltimore's grabbed our attention. So have the Niners. So have the Seahawks. They're kind of laying in the weeds, Kansas City, with that stinging close loss to New England. This weekend they play the Patriots.
Right.
Kansas City, New England, who do you like in Foxborough?
I still like New England.
Wow.
Yeah. Look, now I think this is going to be one of those self-correct games where Kansas City comes out there, plays well, loses a close game. But let's go back to when the Giants lost that close matchup at the end of the season when they were a team going to the playoffs, get to see that same team in the Super Bowl.
That was the Giants-Patriots.
Yeah, exactly.
Week 17, New York lost to New England.
Exactly. I think that's the dynamic we're seeing right here with the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, they have confidence against New England. They should have won that game last year. D Ford offsides on the interception play. One possession away from beating the New England Patriots last year in the AFC Championship game. So I don't think they win this week, but I think it's a self-correct game setting them up for future success.
11 years you played, 10 years in the NFL, a Pro Bowler, 4 different teams, including the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So when the owner talks about the coach, and when there's rumors about the coach, and you're 6-6 with great players, and they're talking coach, do you think there's a chance that Cowboy players now are having these discussions over a beer at home, walking back to the practice field about – will they splinter off from Jason Garrett? There's an old saying in baseball, you have 25 players. 10 hate you, 10 love you. Keep the 5 undecided away from the guys that hate you. Do you think the Cowboys implode in this moment or elevate?
I think they elevate, but I also think that they're experienced in this moment. Look, I go back to 2004 when I was a Cowboy, when there were terms thrown around, are you a Jerry guy or are you a Bill Parcells guy?
Really?
So this is nothing new if you're a Dallas Cowboy. And it's unfortunate because you're getting mixed messages. You're having an owner who has an overview of winning the Super Bowl with a coach who's sitting there talking about the simple measures of winning the next play and winning the next game. So you can't serve two gods. And you think about it, you're trying to appease what Jerry is thinking, which is win a Super Bowl. But you have to remember the methodical approach you need to take as a football player, what your coach is preaching. So I think that's the mixed messaging that this always existed as a Dallas Cowboy, and it's really undermined him. I think Troy Aikman spoke to this.
Yeah. Well, I want to shift to Cam Newton. I've never been a huge Cam fan. Your co-host over there, Jason Whitlock, and I used to argue about this. Cam feels distracted to me. I got a lot of injuries. The league is now demanding precision throwing. That's not really his game. He's the Westbrook of the NFL. The one thing the league asks is, can you shoot? Russell can't. Can do everything else great.
Right.
What is the market for Cam?
He won't even hit the market. I think right now, I think he's going to stay, obviously, at the contract that he's under $19 million next year. Which
that's a good bargain.
That's a bargain. You talk about a potential franchise quarterback going forward. We know that he has been, but with the surgery to the Liz Frank injury, I think that's going to do wonders for Cam Newton. First of all, the rehab process, I tell every single guy, especially when you're playing football, if you're going to go out there and worry about picking up your kids, try and rehab it. If you're trying to pick up linebackers, go ahead and get the surgery. Fix it. Go to the core of this issue, fix it, do the rehab after that, and you'll be better served forward. So Cam Newton, in terms of what his value is, we're seeing the buy-in. We're seeing the organizational support that comes from the top down in Baltimore, and the success is paying on the football field with Lamar Jackson. I think the same thing is starting to brew out there in Carolina. David Tepper now firing Ron Rivera. I think now organizational support. For 1 year on a bargain contract, let's buy into Cam Newton and see what we have.
Let me ask you something. Harbaugh's 44-19-1 as an NFL coach. You have to go to George Halas to find that. He's worked everywhere but burned out people. You own an NFL team. Would you hire him? No, I'm not saying Carolina.
Yeah.
There's about 7 openings a year. Washington. Would you hire Harbaugh?
I would. Look, it was funny what made Harbaugh attractive at the collegiate level was the fact that everyone thought that the turnover with recruiting in a 4-year cycle, his message wouldn't get lost or become white noise, right?
That's right.
And he's had success. He's a top 10 coach in college. At the same time, hasn't won against Ohio State or obviously the national championship. But if you look at him at the pro ranks, what the buy-in that he had before with Bill Roman, what they had in San Francisco and those instant results, what a quarterback that most people didn't know what to do with in Colin Kaepernick, and the situation they had with Alex Smith, who at that time was labeled a bust and not living up to his billing. Jim Harbaugh made all of that occur. So can he do that again at the NFL level? Certainly. But I think the controls, the atmosphere, the organizational support, that's the key to this.
Now, he wouldn't work in Dallas.
No, hell no, not at all. Because Jerry Jones wants the credit.
But what about Cleveland?
It feels like that's a place, except that's going to be almost a 180 in terms of what the mindset is from this year. Obviously, Freddie Kitchens, as I think we termed him, not the head coach, but the homeboy, LeVar Arrington, call him that. You have to have a different authority figure there, and that's going to be shocking to a lot of those players that were drafted and brought into a culture that now is going to take a 180. He's the guy to lead it, but will the guys follow it?
Yeah, I like, Whitlock, you should listen to Marcellus on Harbaugh. He's got a lot of interesting things to say. Be nice to get listen to this guy. He's pretty sharp. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.